Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Hope you're having a nice day here today. We are wrapping up our mirror matchup series. We've done a Protoss vs. Protoss, a Zerg vs. Zerg, and now a Terran vs. Terran. It is good to mix these in with each other from time to time. Generally a little bit less popular than the other matchups, but now I know I'm a Terran player, but honestly, TVT is the best mirror matchup in Brood War. I know that it can be slow sometimes, but it is so unbelievably strategic. Even though occasionally it slows down. The higher level you get, though, it doesn't slow down as much. It's just like, it's really punishing if you screw up an attack in TVT, because the defender's advantage is so strong, and Terran's already the weakest at attacking. So that's kind of where some of this comes from, especially at lower levels. You just can't break each other. Even at pretty high levels, sometimes that happens. Anyways, hope that you guys are going to enjoy this. It's going to be Speed, who is ranking #1 and #2 in the world on the ladder right now. Really the hottest Terran out there. Everyone's just loving him. And he is going to be going up against Baskin over here, a ladder monster. Baskin has been one of the top amateurs for many, many, many years. A very well-known Terran indeed, but has not, as of yet, made it into the pro leagues. One of those guys where you're like, if he pops in at some point, you'd be like, oh, Baskin made it. Oh, nice. But not someone that you're expecting, right? Like, I would put him for sure as a lower level than someone like Scan. But, yeah, generally he's quite high on the ladder. And, does well for himself. It's really hard to overcome that extra hurdle of actually making it into the top level. So, as far as the openers go, this is my favorite type of openers that we're going to see. It looks like a factory expansion, probably from both sides. Obviously, something one base could occur, but it gets a little bit weak, the one base stuff. If one base doesn't work, like, you're kind of screwed. You have to get those expansions up pretty darn quickly. So we'll see how that ends up going. Speed actually scouts in the correct direction. Baskin, the incorrect, but of course, because of the shape of the map, this is the best way to scout, because you basically want your barracks to be able to get over your opponent's natural easily. So, on rotationally symmetric maps, you'll scout in the same way that your natural opens. Right, so if your natural is this way, then you also scout this way, because that means their natural up here is pointing down, and so your barracks can get there very quickly. And that's, his barracks is here, so this barracks can travel to here very easily, very quickly. So if he does get unlucky and, scouts down here last, at least his barracks is there quicker. So it kind of makes up for it. It speeds up your overall scouting a little bit. Anyways, he did get that quick scout. Everything looks pretty normal. It looks like this is going to turn around. He's decided, oh, okay, this is obviously based on that scout timing, probably in the bottom left. But 2 Marines come out. 3 Marines! Wow. Okay. Oh, is he just intercepting the barracks, or is he going to try to attack? Okay, so this is a barracks intercept. This is actually already kind of interesting. You almost never see 3 Marines into command center. It just, 2 Marines basically does it. But the 3rd Marine here, plus he's making the vultures, like, he is dealing so much damage to this barracks, it's kind of crazy. The barracks may find a hiding place right away. Now, Baskin is adding a second factory. He is making vultures non-stop off of that first one. Same can be said for Speed. He is going to back these up. Doesn't want to lose those for free. He leaves this one in the middle to kind of watch for incoming vultures as well. Of course, if Baskin comes up here really quickly, he could end up killing this, because he does have 2, but as the second one comes up for Speed, Speed will be fine there as well. So he brings up the 2 to guard. This is guarding the Marines, so the Marines can hit the barracks now. Baskin is looking for a spot here. I don't know if it actually exists on this middle ground where you can hide a barracks. You can definitely hide an Overlord up here without it being seen, but the barracks is a little bit bigger, so I'm not 100%. Now, it's 3 vultures versus 3 vultures. Speed was higher up on the thing, so, like, there was some missed shots coming up the ramp, and you had to do movement as well, so sometimes you can do a slower shot there. So he is going to go ahead and commit very heavily there, and in fact, with the Marine coming up, you do have to be careful, because Marines actually have higher DPS than vultures. So, Oh my god, he missed a shot on the Marine. That's insane. He missed a shot on the Marine, guys. You miss 1 in 255 shots. Just straight up on low ground with ranged units. Ugh. Okay. Where are we at? 3 factory, very late add-on. 3 factory, very late add-on. This is actually the meta for vultures right now, is you actually get your add-on super, super late. You know, you don't want, like, if someone has 1 more vulture and they attack you, you could actually lose the game because of that. Like, you will get really far behind. You have to pull SCVs and stuff to fight. It gets very dirty. But yeah, basically by the time that you have the other factories going, you can add that add-on and you're basically going to be fine. Now, speed comes up and actually attacks. And it's 1 for 1 there. He does pick a Marine, picks another Marine. We're close to his base, so this is not so bad. Baskin seems to be taking an edge here. Oh, that SCV actually getting some pretty valuable hits here. SCVs actually have a really high DPS as well compared to some of these units. It's like a funny thing. The DPS of some of these Terran units is actually quite low. I did a DPS chart once for people. The people were surprised. You can find it on the Artosis TV YouTube. But Terran unit DPS is kind of low. They all have like range, so it's a little bit weird. But like, yeah, the overall the damage output is surprisingly low on units. Okay, so 4th factory coming up here for speed. And looking over on Baskin's side, he's staying 3. So you're going to have to do things like either stay in a more defensive arc, maybe make some buildings, maybe add a siege tank more quickly, or some Goliaths. Anything like that could work. Now he runs in. Speed actually just has more, so speed should be moving forward here. We're right at speed's base, but you do have to focus fire, and he actually does miss that a little bit. 8 vultures will one-shot another vulture, so that focus fire is important, and it seems like Baskin did a much better job focus firing, so the battle didn't go as poorly for him as it could have. Now, he is going to go ahead and pick off a couple more even. As more come out, he is going to have to back up to that high ground, which, of course, you're not going to want to try to break. Maybe bring him home and repair him at this point. But speed is going to get ahead on that vulture count. Now, both sides have about the same SCVs. Both sides doing a good job not getting supply blocked here. That's one of the hardest things to macro, actually, in the game, is vultures. Because they build in 19 seconds and the depots in 25 seconds and they cost 2 supply apiece, it's just like really wonky. There's not like a set cadence to the depots. So, or the cadence is very complicated. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. The vultures coming up, speed is actually forcing the engage, which is exactly what you need to do. If you're adding that additional factory, you really want to force some engages before they get other high-tech units out. And you can see Baskin now has flipped the switch into Goliath Siege Tank. He'll probably stop at 4 Goliaths, is my guess, and put a second add-on, and then maybe go like vulture tanks or something like that. But right now, these like speed is forcing an engage. I don't know that this is actually going to be any good because 2 more Goliaths are about to pop out. You have to target those, though. Yeah, you have to target the mines. You cannot let those mines hit. Yeah, and he blocks it perfectly. He blocks it perfectly. So now Baskin is actually ahead of speed. Like, this is better. His units are way better than what speed has. Now, speed is getting a dropship, and he's actually getting an armory here for his upgrades. So he is going to hit a vulture drop coming up, which is definitely not a bad idea. But Baskin already has his 3rd command center making. We have nothing of the sort over here. Baskin has more SCVs. He has a higher quality army. Baskin is just way ahead. Like, this looks way better for Baskin. But the game is not over. It's not like... The thing is, he can't just attack across the map. If you tried to attack, you'd actually just lose. There'd be counterattacks coming in, and he'll get enough units to hold it by the time it gets there, through all the mines, uphill, and all that stuff. You see how many mines are out here? It's just crazy minefields that you have to get through. And in fact, speed's starting to clear some of these mines as well. Starport on the way. He has to remake his barracks, and it is going to be 3 factory siege tank, in fact, which actually this has gained a bit of popularity lately, where you have like this kind of like dynamic early game where there's like a lot of scuffles, and then suddenly 3 factory siege tank, and then suddenly you're at this number that absolutely can't be attacked. So anyways, he is walking up here with his Goliaths and tanks. Goliaths are the best unit at shooting mines as they pop up for Terran. So as you can see, like, they basically, their target tracking is the quickest out of all the mech units. So like, they will lock onto the unit that they're supposed to hit very, very quickly. And that's like why they're the best at that. So he's going to deal some more damage to that barracks, and he's going to be able to get this expand up. This is a pretty solid defense. Vultures will have a hard time against all these units. We'll see if speed tries to dive in or anything. There's the dropship. Here is the new barracks, and here is the command center almost done. This positioning, you'll probably float it to here, but there's a possibility he floats it to the mineral base. Like, he has 4 factories and adding a 5th. Like, he could float this here and make one here if he wants as well. There's, like, actually several options here for speed that are all doable. So the 3 factory siege tanks. Oh, and 2 port wraith to go with it. In my head, I just like re-entered if you give a mouse a cookie book, it's gonna want a glass of milk. That I read those books to my kids often. So I'm like, oh, if he goes 3 fact siege tank, he's gonna want to go 2 port wraith. And if he goes 2 port wraith, you're gonna be sad that you made drop ships. So yeah, he does land this command center here and starts one here. I think that that's a solid choice for the amount of map control he has right now. Now, here comes the vulture drop. There are 2 Goliaths in here, so this might not end well. Also, he has the wraiths that he can, bring up immediately to deal with this. He chooses a very good location where the Goliaths actually have a very hard time pathing through SCVs. So, with some targeting, he can get some damage done here. And he's just going to leave those and get out with the dropship. I think the drop was okay. And he's going to show the wraiths to kill the dropship, it looks like. Or maybe he won't. It really got away pretty quick. Now, Baskin is pushing across really quickly. I think he's actually pushing too far, though. He's getting into this more open area. Speed can counter push and kill this. So he is going to, in fact, do exactly that. He just shoves everything forward. And that means that everything here is going to get cleared. The wraiths come up and try to help, but it's just like the mass of units is going to overdo that. That was an overstep. He could have easily taken here and held here and just been in a good position and maybe thought about, okay, do I want to clear this general area? And just kind of, if you have 51% of the map in Terran versus Terran, you're generally winning. It's more about having more parts of the map, even parts of the map that don't matter as much, because so much has to do with like surface area and like where you can come in from with what's the spread of units looking like, that type of thing. So that was overdone. If he stays here, because look at this, notice how speed stays here. This is an SSL player. This is a player that hasn't made it in yet, and you can see like he got the lead for sure. Like, he was ahead. And now Speed's like, okay, well, I busted that. And suddenly Speed has a much better position on the map. He can take this base, which is a gas base, which is huge. He has him kind of pushed back. Baskin, he's coming up. Okay, well, maybe we can go in the center a little bit. But the thing is, now this looks really good for Speed out of nowhere. Like, really, it was very good for Baskin, and now Speed has 51% of the map, right? This is the center line. And look, he's got a few units over it. Now, Baskin moving some units up here. This is a move you can do where you just go diagonally now. You're like, okay, you have more down here, but I'll have more up here. Here's the problem with that. He can just rally his units somewhere like this and then bring a ton of units suddenly to hit here. It's much easier having your units here and able to reinforce both these locations and then to suddenly move up here than to do the same over here, right? Because let's say you keep your units here. Okay, you can reinforce here, you can reinforce here. But to come up here and then go to the left, his units will have cleared this before you get there. So these positions are very hard to keep. We'll see. It's not something you have to break right away. It's something that you do a little bit later on. But right now, looking at this, we have another vulture drop coming around. We do have that 4th base getting started by Baskin. They're still very similar on worker count. They're still very similar on supply. The double starport is going to come in nicely for dropship play now. He only made the 3 wraiths, which that can be okay. It's not a big deal to buy a starport you're not going to use a whole lot. A lot of units being moved up into this location. So this could turn into a push. Yeah, I mean, he can come down and maybe fall in this area. That could be a really good move. If he uses every unit he has and smashes this from 2 sides, that could be really strong. He's trying to actually push into this base. If he makes it, this is a really good move. If he doesn't, because he can't reinforce this. He walked all the way around to do this. And in fact, he should have brought these two as well. But, like, it looks like speed is just going to clear this as well because it's too far in. Now, if you had used these, if you had used all these units and broken this area, suddenly you have a rally that goes through. And you can reinforce this very quickly, and maybe then you push through here, and you get your opponent the back foot. The walking around to do the sneak attack, that's more of an early game thing where units are so light that they aren't going to be able to just break through something that's ill thought out. So I feel like that was an opportunity for Baskin to have some really great moves, and he just kind of dropped it a little bit. Also, I want to mention, if you look at just the mini-map, you can see, look at this ring of purple. You basically can't get to speed without him knowing about it. Baskin has a lot more holes in there, just to point out. It's not that speed is getting ready to do something like that. I don't even see dropships really for him. Like he has this one that just landed. Okay, so that's great. But he's not going mass dropships, whereas Baskin is. Baskin's going to have a hard time getting in because the vision of speed here is really phenomenal. So these two vultures, yeah, they're going to be able to deal a little bit of damage, be a little bit annoying. It's not the end of the world. You don't really care in TVT if occasionally you lose 10 SCVs. It's actually not that big a deal. Now, here comes that big drop. Oh, boy. Did he get in right before those finish? He's going to go ahead and drop on this base. But, like, you can siege some tanks here and hit the fringe of this, and then he's just shoving his units down the ramp. Probably should lift this so he can get in more cleanly. That was probably too early, that siege. Well, that was a good move by Baskin, for sure. Like, that ended up doing quite a bit. One thing we should mention, though, is a lot of his supply is right here. This is a lot of mech. This is a lot of dropships. So there are counterattack possibilities opening up. Like, he could absolutely roll through this. Easy, easy, easy. Looks like he's looking at this general area. We can see a lot of missile turrets there. Maybe not the best spot. Flying out through here. There are some Goliaths. Oh, boy. That's painful. It's like a good 20 supply just being sucked up by two Goliaths. Okay, brings us back. This is like a defensive position drop. And yeah, I think he just wants to hold here, go and reload and do something else. That's funny. He starts making this again, but he already has it, so cancels. What I really feel like I'm watching here is like Baskin has a lot of good moves. He's obviously a very good player, but Speed just has a more coherent plan for his game. And like he is moving up right now. The defense matrices are going off on both sides. They do both have 2-1 upgrades, which is very important. And like, yeah, you just see in all these battles like a little bit more for Speed. Baskin floating a command center up. Looks like he's going to continue to expand up the side a little bit. They're still very similar in supplies and everything. I would say we definitely have more siege tanks for Speed right now. And you can see some vultures being mixed in. At this point, this is actually not enough factories. You can see the base layouts are very hard on this map. Let's see how many factories we have here. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And over here, 4, 7. So one less, which is a little bit painful. He does have the double starport against single starport. Yeah, it is single starport, which is okay. Both those are totally fine. You spend a bit more gas with a double starport, and so generally you'll end up, if you're on even bases, making a few more vultures and things. But yeah, right now it just, you can see it definitely a difference in what they have banked up money-wise and everything. This was kind of a sloppy thing. He had all these units here, and Baskin had no real defense here, and Speed just moves in and punishes. So that's unfortunate, because if you have 3, 4 tank siege, Speed won't even try it. He'll just be like, no, that's enough to slow me enough to get his rallies down. But instead, nothing there really. Just kind of missing an easy defense opportunity. This is a very cool spot with the Science Vessel especially. It'll make it a little bit harder to bust than expected. He's taken top right. He's taken top right natural. Speed taken top left. And he has a little supplemental drop here to make sure he kills this base off without having to go through these siege tanks any more than he already has. Very cool. We actually have, this is quite a nice TVT. Very, very back and forth. Definitely some different styles being utilized as well. Now, a lot of SCVs being sent by Baskin to this top right. He has lost quite a few SCVs now. He probably does want to make a few more. Ooh, his vultures finding these SCVs is very nice. And in fact, his dropships will find it too. So hold on. I do not want him to drop here. I think dropping there is really a bad idea. Speed attacking to the top right. There's nothing there, and there's so many SCVs. There's nothing defensively there. This is kind of funny because there's just nothing in this area. It's like this. I do like things like this, but if you have nothing here, you can see it's not really paying off. The dropships turn around. He does get the SCVs out of here. So at least that's nice. The dropships maybe can come home and stop this. Notice how Speed left a few units. So if you're trying to send up reinforcements, they're going to get splattered. Really smart move. And again, watching this game, you can definitely feel that Speed is a bit better. Despite, you know, Baskin, he's one of the best Terrans, right? Like, this is... It's an important thing to mention that these people that I cast, like, they are all ridiculously good. But there are so many levels. There are so many levels. This is a guy that I think in a couple years we're going to be talking about, you know, Speed, that is. We're going to be talking about him maybe winning an SSL in a couple years. Baskin, we're still waiting for him to get in, and you can see, like, even with that lead, with that advantage, and the thing is, he's still actually doing well. He might win this game. I don't know. But, like, it feels like Speed is outplaying him pretty often. Pretty often we're seeing just, like, slightly better moves. Now, Speed moving up through the middle again. Again, it's like, okay, we have this area kind of defended, and that's about it. Okay, drops do clear the mineral base, so that's nice. Yeah, he can probably splatter all this, maybe break through some turrets here, maybe set up an attack into here later on. So definitely some good things happening. Counterattack here from Speed. Yeah, not many units left over by Baskin up here. He has made another command center, make another one up here as well. Baskin trying to come up. That's too many +3 siege tanks on high ground to really break through there. Yeah, the SCVs will do a much better job than the mech units at breaking through, as funny as that is. So Baskin, okay, like, this area has been slowed down by Baskin, but he doesn't control this area. So Speed eventually can come up here and clear this and get these bases mining, very likely. Baskin's still playing very, very drop heavy here. I think he needs to, like, slow down from drop-based attacks at this point and go for drop-based defenses and clearings at this point. Because now we have dropships for Speed. He has a bit more of the map. He has a bit more vision. It's going to be easier for him to run around with these dropships. That being said, this is kind of a nice move that's going on right now. He does, unfortunately, lose this one to those siege tanks. But you can see the walls are closing in here on Baskin. And he needs to do things. Instead of, like, trying to kill this base, I feel like clearing this would have been a better usage of those units. Clearing this is probably pretty damn important. Yeah, he's going to GG. Yeah, Speed was just kind of inching ahead. The funny thing is, that can go wrong as well. I just want to point it out that, like, if at some point, and look at this. Dude, Speed is actually going to be the best Terran in the world, I think. Well, other than Flash, obviously. He doesn't really count. But when I'm looking at this, do you see this? I was going to come over here and point out that I'm like, even when you're getting ahead all game like this, sometimes they can make a move like a big drop in your main, and suddenly the game is on its head and you're behind. But he's doing layers of turrets. He's got his rally point here that always has a lot of Goliaths. He's got tons of turrets already. Look down here. Look down here. Tons of turrets. Tons of turrets. Tons of turrets. Tons, not tons, but a lot. Tons of turrets. Okay, he has so many layers of drop defense because the thing is he's outplaying him in every other way. Like, Baskin's making good moves. It's a competitive game. But the one real way to lose might have been like a big drop coming in. Excellent game, though. I did enjoy. Hope you guys did as well. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.